You'll get it when you get older. I ask myself that question sometimes, and let me tell you, listening to David and Barak, I answer that question quite emphatically. I am an African. This comes with a lot of things when you talk of yourself as an African. And let me just make a few statements before I get into my little presentation, which is not going to be long. I've had the privilege to travel and to also cover much of this continent. And many of you know that when you look at Africa from the outside, it's a very negative picture. I don't have to tell you that. Most people see Africa through the lens of poverty and corruption and all these different things. The sad thing for me is it is not just what outsiders perceive of us as Africans, but the fact that many of us have actually adopted this very same picture of ourselves. And we therefore live and breathe and confront life with a picture, a negative picture, that to some large extent has been implanted on us by the media and others who look at us as people who are going nowhere. And I hope that this is something that we can consider as we go through this presentation, how to get ourselves out of this. I don't want to dwell too much on this book, but I have to tell you something about it. During my 4 years in the Netherlands, traveling around Africa and living in the Netherlands, as it were, almost like the Mzungu now, coming to do development and going back home, I was really troubled. In the office next to me was a guy who was responsible for Latin America. And on this other side was a lady who was handling Asia. And there were other people dealing with, Eastern Europe and so on. Every week we would have our team meetings where we sit down to discuss the issues and challenges and so on and what's emerging and so on. And I used to sit and wonder, as I see this guy's portfolio going like this other portfolio with a few bumps going like this, the issues that I was always bringing was another fraud or another collapse. The title that was given for this evening, I must confess I wasn't completely happy with it for two reasons. The title was Harnessing Business Survival in an Uncertain Economic Environment. The first reason I wasn't so happy is I didn't like the word survival. I would like to think of people who are running business, people who are part of the engine of our growth, to be people who are looking to progress, to excel, to succeed, as opposed to being survivors. I'd like to believe that people who are just aiming to survive are not going to survive the coming changes and challenges that our world is facing. The second thing was the title spoke of economic uncertainties. And I want to tell you that it is not just economic. And I think David brought that out, Barak has also mentioned this, that we're dealing with uncertainties in virtually all spheres. We're facing environmental uncertainties, political uncertainties. We're dealing with social unrest and uncertainties all around us. And we're dealing with some things that are actually so big and so macro that it's even hard to put our hands around. I don't know how many of you actually really consider the implications of last year's crossing of the 7 billion mark of the population of the world. And I cannot believe, in my own lifetime, this is not something of centuries. In my lifetime, I remember us talking about 3 billion people. 3 billion, the songs written about the world, 3 billion people. Now we've crossed 7 billion and just sailing on. The implication of that alone is actually transforming the existence on this earth. It's having implications for our natural resources, water supply, energy. It's having implications for education, economics, food. Food alone. Can we feed this planet in the coming years? These are issues that are not going away. And if anybody would paint a picture of an uncertain time with sort of trying to imply that this is a period that we'll get back to life as normal. Actually, uncertainty is something that we have to learn to live with as we go forward. This is just a reality that has come. How are we going to progress and excel in light of these big things? But I want to bring it down to something that touches us as business people. You know, once in a while, somebody comes up with something that fundamentally alters life, an invention or an innovation. I'll share with you one. 500 years ago, this is 5 centuries ago, a man by the name of Gutenberg came up with what was to be known as the Gutenberg press. It was the first movable press. The Gutenberg press, which basically allowed for books to be duplicated and multiplied, altered life. Back then, people used to, books were such a symbol of power, a symbol of status. Church leaders who had books would pontificate